Hello everybody, welcome back to One Leeds, welcome back to Conor here, and yes, unfortunately it is that time again. Leeds United are getting ready to go to Anfield, a fantastic record at Anfield. No, Leeds United are travelling to Merseyside this weekend to face a Liverpool side who almost look like they're turning it around a little bit. A fantastic win in the Netherlands the other night, 3-0 dominating win over Ajax. It looks like they're not getting back to the best. I don't think they'll ever do that, but they're a top team in world football, and it's going to be a tough one for Leeds this weekend, beyond tough, and we're going to get into exactly what was said in the Jesse Marsch press conference today. But before we start, everybody, listen, there's a bit of an upturn here, a little bit of an upturn. If you want to get some cash, there's £1,000 of a guaranteed pot in our Liverpool versus Leeds Fantasy League. If you haven't joined yet, the One Leeds subscribers of a Fantasy League, it's fantastic. I'm involved as well. We pick a team every single weekend. You get a free £5 bet, everybody. Look, when times are hard, I'm giving you a £5 bet. If you just type in the code ONELEEDS5 on entry. The pot code is there below. All the links will be in the description as well. As you can see here, I've gone for an extremely heavy Liverpool side this weekend. If you think you can beat that, make sure you click the link in the description and give it a go, everyone. As I say, chance to win £1,000. So, what did we figure out today from Jesse Marsch's press conference? Well, as the thumbnail illustrates, I mean, if he wins at Liverpool, it would be an incredible result, but I don't think it would change anything. I don't think it's going to send Leeds on to greater things. You can call me negative, you can call me this, that, and the other. It's just how I see it. I don't see it at the minute. I don't see this style as something which is going to be a continuation for success in the Premier League. I don't think it's going to happen. And I've mentioned this on several videos. You guys all tuned in to my 24-minute monologue the other day. 16,000 views. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. So, yeah. And I explained it all on there, really. So I don't need to go over it. I'm going to go over a few little bits on what I touched on. But, yeah, the overall point of that video, everyone, it wasn't just there's a lot of people who misunderstood what the video was about. They seemed to think it was all about Sean Dyche. We know the Sean Dyche rumours are absolute tripe. And some people are entertaining it, obviously. So that's the reason you touch on it, because you guys were asking me about Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche and managers like Sean Dyche. So that's the reason I did the video. And as I said, it was more about the expectations of the average Leeds fan nowadays, which for me is absolutely on its arse because of the board's lack of ambition. And that's what we're seeing again today with the press conference. So let's get into it anyway. Jesse turned around and said, I'm absolutely sick of it. He wants the boys to step up. And essentially he's turned around and said, in my opinion, he's called out certain personnel for not scoring, for not being part of the recovery process when we need recovery, when the backs are against the walls. And it's almost like, when you're in the trenches, when you're down there, when you're digging, do you want these boys next to you? They're going to dig you out of it. As I said last season, everybody, that was the Rafinha show. If we didn't have him, we'd have been down so long before that last day of the season. So long before. As I said, created 155 chances by himself, assists, goals, created space, took opposition players out of the game and take 3 of them out of the game at points and leave some Leeds players there free in the middle. We've not replaced Rafinha. Rafinha was and is world class. So, he's once in a generation when you come to Leeds United. So replacing that is always going to be difficult. But, the test of character for these lads is coming now. And I don't disagree with Jesse there. I'm not just going to jump on him all the time because I think he should be sacked. I'm not just going to jump on him. There's people who are jumping on him for anything he says. There's certain individuals who I'm seeing all the time, the same sorts of people who are just hammering him for absolutely everything. And that's a person with an agenda, 100%. Just want him out. But, there are people who... What I'm trying to say there, everybody, and when I say agenda is, I think you've got to be fair. You've got to be impartial. You've got to be unbiased. And I think you've got to see what he's saying and just think to yourself, okay, well, that bit might be right. I still want him out of the club, but that bit might be right. That bit might be wrong. You've got to try give it a little bit of balance as well, because it's not all Jesse Marsch. It's not. We've already spoken about this. The board have a huge say in it, and believe it or not, everybody, the players do as well. And there are certain individuals, leaders, senior players who I've called out for years for not stepping up to the mark, being hot and cold. We all know who we're talking about. Missing 9 big chances after starting 4 games. So certain individuals coming off the bench who were just there to make up the numbers. They just come on, stroll around for a little bit, barely put in any effort, and then the 90 minutes completed, they stroll off into the changing rooms. Heads going down with certain personnel when we go 1 or 2-0 down. Happens. We know who we're talking about here. We know who we're talking about. And I understand that from Jesse. I do. And it pisses me off, to be quite honest with you. And I understand why it annoys him. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at Jesse, it's Jesse's tactical plan. It's Jesse's ideas. Before the season started, Jesse was fine with having these players in and around the group. Jesse was talking about how they're the best bunch of lads ever. So you can't be saying that. And also in the same press conference, you're blaming yourself. You're saying it's all on me. And then later on, you're saying, well, essentially the players aren't stepping up to it. So there's got to be a little bit of an understanding. What are you saying there, Jesse? Because, as I said multiple times before, you come out and blame yourself. So what's going on there? And it's also dangerous saying that, from a press point of view, because if that's getting back to the players, and he's essentially calling them out, which he is. Now, I don't know if that's in a motivational way with Jesse. It could be. We know what he's like. But if he is doing that, that's not going to look good. It's something you can think, but we've seen it with Mourinho before. We've seen it with Conte before. When you start calling players out in press conferences, it's not a good look, and it's a sign of desperation. It really is. But Jesse knew that these players were the ones that were starting the season with him. Now, he's saying that essentially, I mean, if he thought the players were good enough, which they weren't, this squad wasn't good enough going into this season. We all know that. But if Jesse thought it was good enough, we know he's mentioned the striker, but everything else was fine, 90-95% fine, then he really shouldn't expect anything else. But it seems like he's questioning more of the mentality than the ability of the player, which is a different thing. But he knew. He should have known that the mentality of the lads. Certain points last season, going towards the back end of last season, some of them, we don't need to name names, but some of them give up. Some of them stepped up, big players stepped up, but some of them faded into the background. Now, the big player has gone who stepped up to the mark. They've all got to be counted. And they have got to step up. Because fans are turning around, some fans are turning around saying this squad is good enough. I mean, at the start of the season, I said 15th max. Max. So, is this squad good enough to stay up? Well, it is, because I've said 15th. So I can't go against that, really. But there is a ceiling with these players. And some of these players, it's a 20th place in the Premier League ceiling. It's a 10th, 11th, 12th, probably bottom half championship ceiling. Facts. So Jesse knew what he was getting into. I can understand you questioning the mentality, but you were talking about how great these lads were, a great bunch of lads. You saw them towards the back end of last season. You saw them under Marcelo Bielsa when it got really, really hard. So you know what these players are about. You do. But then again, I'm not disagreeing with him. But I'm also saying, well, Jesse, you're coming out and saying what a great bunch of lads they are all the time. You're doing it last week, and you've done it essentially here. He also mentioned that he's never gone through a spell like this in his career. Well, that's because Leipzig got rid of him. Leipzig did a big boy club move, and they saw it going wrong. They brought Tedesco in. That's what big boy clubs do. They notice the problem. That's what properly ran clubs, operated clubs do. They notice a problem, and they bin them off. And I'm going to come on to my next point here. Apparently, there's going to be staffing changes. Apparently, there's going to be psychologists brought to Leeds United. And Jesse and Victor and whoever it is now, I don't even know who it is now, might as well be Tom and Jerry, are talking about transfers. Now, the transfers bit irks me a little bit because that's a bit unusual. Is Victor Orta just speaking to Jesse as a bit of a soundboard? Because we know that if he loses next game, he should be gone anyway. But he loses next game, he'll be gone. Then he loses Bournemouth, he'll be gone. But why are they discussing transfers with him? That doesn't make any sense, Discussing staffing changes at the World Cup, bizarre as well. What I'm thinking is when the board are about, and I know this for a fact after speaking to some, ex-Leeds players as well, and some ex-footballers. When the manager's about to be sacked, there is a real distance between the board and the manager, and it seems like right now the Leeds United staff are as close as ever. talking about the World Cup, talking about psychologists, talking about transfers. And I understand people are going to have rebuttal to that and turn around to me and say, Conor, he knows his job's on the line. And I agree with that, everyone. But my rebuttal back to that would be, why is he still in the job then? There are talks after the game last week, after that embarrassment against Fulham, and said they've got full faith in him. They're talking about staffing, transfers, psychology. Why haven't we got psychologists in place at Ellen Road? This is what I'm talking about. What's going on? We're an elite Premier League club and we're talking about getting in psychologists. Jesus Christ, what is going on? Transfers, World Cup, as I've just mentioned this 45 times, but it's the fact I don't understand why there's talks like this. Normally there's a real gap between the board and the manager, and then it's just normally a phone call. You're done, son. But it seems like Leeds are backing him and talking about, the future projections. And I understand there are going to be people who are going to comment back to this and say, Conor, they're going to have to do that because he's the manager at the minute. Yeah, but I think we all know he's a dead man walking. We do, maybe. The board don't. I don't know if that's because they haven't got any money, so they're struggling to pay him off for the 3.5 years, and they're looking at other coaches and thinking there's none out there available, so we'll have to buy someone out of a contract, which we can't do because we haven't got any money. And they'll want a load of new players, which we're not going to do because we haven't got any money. That must be it. Because if it's anything else, then I'm staggered that these people are in business. Because it can't just be they think it's going all right. There must be something else behind it. And I'm sorry, guys, if this is coming across overtly negative. It's just staggering, isn't it, that we were sold the dream when we were in the Premier League and we were sold all these things last season. So we're talking about the Leicester model. If we stay up, we're going to copy Leicester. We're going to copy Wolves. All this Champions League and European rubbish. And now we are where we are. How can people be positive about that? I don't understand it. If they hadn't have come out and said all this sort of stuff, I'd almost be less angry. I'd be less frustrated. I'd be less annoyed. But they've just done it again. Set the expectation when you're acting like a championship club. And I almost started laughing when you saw Joe Gelhardt and Rodrigo out again. Gelhardt out again. You've got to be available. Listen, we always talk about Joe Gelhardt. We always talk about his minutes to goal ratio. I certainly do. I think he should have more minutes. But he's also injured all the time, which makes an even bigger farce of what Conor was talking about. Oh, we've got the youngest player. The youngest player in the Premier League who's getting minutes to goal ratio. Well, that doesn't stack up because, as I said, you never give him minutes. And he's injured. Gelhardt is injured a lot, everybody. We know this now. It's a frequent thing. You don't get into this Leeds United side in general. If you're not injured a lot, you wouldn't fit in. You'd be outside that jigsaw puzzle. You've got to be injured frequently to fit in with the boys. But yeah, just surmising what's going on there. Gelhardt's out. Yelder out. Forsch out again. It annoys me that these people are still on the books. Why are they still playing for Leeds? Why are we having conversations in the background talking about the next step for them? They're going to Bristol City, going to Cardiff City, or whatever it is going to be with someone like Adam Forsch? Probably not, because we're not organised. So it'll just happen on the day. Forshaw might come in for a game in the Cup and we'll give him a new 2-year contract. Because that's how we run. Family vibe, Sentiment FC. Yelder out, Dallas out, Forshaw out, Gelhardt out, Rodrigo out, Sinisterra out, Adams out and Cooper out. What the fuck what's going on? What is going on? And this was the whole thing, wasn't it? Because when Adams is out, which we were talking about at the start of the season, there's a massive gap in the centre. People talking about Click coming in for Adams. Click's not good enough. Simple. Simple Simon says, not good enough. Doesn't fit the Tyler Adams profile. Isn't a ball winner. Isn't a defensive midfielder screening in front of the back four. Isn't that? If Click's ever been anything for Leeds United, it's been an 8 or a forward-thinking 6. He's never been a Tyler Adams sort of player, and they knew that before we went into the season. They knew it. So why? So Click can't come in for Greenwood, even though Greenwood isn't the profile either, because Greenwood's a striker. But they knew this defensive midfield deficiency going into the season. Looks like Adams is seemingly going to be out long term. That's 2 games now. So he's clearly pulled something. Coops is out again, as we spoke about at the start of the season. Coops' seasonal injuries. Has that been twice now? Normally it's 3 a season. Sinisterra, I mean, that looked like a bad one, didn't that? Look like a bit of a hyperextension. Rodrigo frequently injured as well. Guys, it's frustrating because Conor was speaking about Rodrigo. Conor was speaking about Gelhardt. We've heard all this tosh before, and as you can probably tell, I am sick of it. It's not great creating content when your club, the club you absolutely adore, the club when you watch them and they're getting beat, it's like someone just punching you repeatedly in the balls. It's just horrendous, and I'm so frustrated. I'm so downtrodden with this club at the minute. And, you know, the press conference, I'm watching it, and I'm getting just angry watching it. Less talking, more action. I want transparency. I want to understand where we're going. I want the expectation to rise. I don't want to be going to Liverpool and just knowing we're going to get trashed. And if we don't get trashed, fantastic. But it's a stopgap, isn't it? It is a stopgap for what's coming. Inconsistent performances, inconsistent results. You know, how many times have we still got to play the top 6, right? So how many games have we got left? 27, 28. How many times have we still got to play the top 6? So that takes those games out of it. Then when you look at the top 8, top 10, how many games have we got to play against that lot? Still probably quite a bit. And we're not getting any results against the bottom lot at the minute. So what are we looking at? What are we looking at in terms of results? Something's got to change, and it has to change now. If he gets a result against Liverpool, whatever, fine. I don't think it's going to change anything. It'll be great for the club. It'll be fantastic. I don't think it's going to kick anything on because, as I've said at the start, the style of play isn't suited to the Premier League. It's not suited to Premier League success. And the depth of this squad isn't enough. There's not enough depth there. Look at the bench. Llorente, Firpo, Click, Gyabi, JB, sorry. So we'll go again. Llorente, Firpo, Click, JB, Christensen, Somerville. That's the bench against Fulham. No game changers, no game winners on there. And then you look at the starting 11. You've got Ayling still in 2022 at right back. Cooper still in a starting 11. There's people still saying he's the leader. He's the organiser. It's 2022. What's going on? And he's still getting into the starting 11. He's still better than our £18 million bought Spanish international from last season. He's better than him. Even though we've recruited him, we've got our centre-back, who we got from Ajax for free. He's better than the 13 million quid guy we recruited from Barcelona. Where's the depth? It's just shambolic, everybody. It's shambolic. And I'm sorry, this will be the most negative video I've ever done. Because I'm sick of it now. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the club. I'm sick of where it's going. I don't understand anything. There's no transparency. We don't know where the future owners are. We don't know what's going on with these owners. I'm trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is why I was predicting wins at the start of the season. Those first 3 games, I was so happy. It looked like a different Leeds. I came on the video and turned around to you guys and said, you know what? This might be different. This might be the change of the guard where Leeds don't have the soft underbelly anymore. We don't have the soft mentality anymore. It's turning round a bit. It's changing. We've got the players in. We've got Jesse's players in. They're playing within a system here. And the system might work. I've not seen enough of it yet because this is a new season. We couldn't do it towards the back end of last season. We're here now. Let's see what happens. Pre-season was good. It was better than last season with Bielsa. We came into this season, we got 7 points out of 9. And then almost the instantaneous challenge, the instantaneous tactical flexibility from an opposition manager. And it's done. That's it. It's done. Mentality of the players on their arse. They can't come back from these setbacks. The manager hasn't got any tactical flexibility at all. The board are just ignoring everything that's going on. We don't know what's going on with the 49ers. There's nothing in place there. Stadium expansion's gone quiet. Guys, I'm sick to the back teeth of it. So if it is, listen, if you want a proper Liverpool preview, you're probably going to have to go to another channel. Listen, Liverpool have got everybody fit this weekend. Leeds have got about 4 players fit for this weekend. I want to come back on here and I want to be positive about my side. I do, but I need to see change from the board, from within, because at the minute, us as fans are getting rinsed. We're getting absolutely rinsed with what's going on. No direction, no clarity. Guys, listen, rant over again. But I might need to take a step away from this for a little bit, to be honest, because I'm just so sad with Leeds at the minute. But yeah, let me know exactly what you think in the comment section below. Have a good weekend. I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.